In this post, I want to explain a simple but critically important concept. It's something we call the backlash effect, and it's something that can be measured with the backlash coefficient. And the backlash coefficient is defined simply as the number of new enemies that you create in the process of defeating an old enemy. And the way to get a sense of what we mean by this is with this very silly little diagram that imagines all of the people that you're looking out at when you're involved in some sort of conflict situation. It could be the way the Iraqis or the Afghans responded to U.S. intervention in their country, or a host of other similar kinds of things, as well as smaller scale stuff down to the level of individual communities and not involving any sort of violent confrontation. But the basic idea is there are four different kinds of people out there. There are the green smiley face folks, and those are the guys who are your friends, and they're sort of rooting for you and would like to see happen what you would like to see happen. There are the yellow neutral face folks. Those are guys who don't quite know what to make of you. They might be your friend, they might be your enemy, they're sort of waiting to see, or maybe they have other things to worry about. They're the red frowny face folks. Now those are the guys who don't like you, don't agree with your agenda, would like to see you lose, but then again, you're not at the top of their priority list, and so they're not going to be actively fighting you. And then there are the purple screamy face folks, and those are the guys who are so mad at you that they're going to actively oppose you. In a military contest, these are your enemies. They may be insurgents, they may be terrorists, they could be a foreign army. And these are the guys that if you're going to win in war or some sort of political power contest that you have to defeat. Now, the key question is, as you look at your strategies for defeating these folks, that you need to ask is, what's the backlash coefficient? So take the example of the sort of early phases of our war in Iraq and Afghanistan, where Donald Rumsfeld, then Secretary of Defense, thought that the backlash coefficient was way less than 1. And so he argued that if we went after those 3 purple screamy face folks, the insurgents, the enemies, and defeated them, either captured or killed them basically, we would only anger other folks in the population enough to become active enemies at a rate of 1 out of 3. So in this example, you take out 3 guys and you only create 1 new enemy. That's the formula for a war that you can win. The alternative view, and a lot of folks that were opponents to the war said, wait a second, folks aren't going to like the fact that we're coming in and invading their country, and the backlash coefficient is going to be way greater than 1. So in this example, with the backlash coefficient of 2, you have again the 3 screaming face folks, the insurgents that you want to get, and you go and you take those guys out, but you do so in a way that creates 6 new enemies. And that's the kind of war that you're just going to lose. And in fact, I had a student who was, or at least reported, she was reasonably high up in the planning, and I forget whether it was Iraq or Afghanistan, but she was telling me that they actually came to the conclusion that the backlash coefficient was 20 to 1, which obviously explained why, certainly in the earlier stages of the war, things were going really very badly. So the key is to figure out a strategy that minimizes the backlash coefficient. There's another option, of course, which instead of taking out the bad guys with force, you try to lure them to your side with incentives of various approaches. So here you've got carrots and not sticks. The blue circles are hugs maybe. But there are a whole range of strategies that are more in the realm of bribes than threats. Now this all applies to an earlier post that we had for our seminar series on the power strategy mix. And one way to look at the power strategy mix is that it is a strategy for minimizing the backlash coefficient. So you're going to have really high backlash if you treat everyone as if they're an incorrigible, but if you treat as many people as possible with other kinds of strategies based on persuasion and strategies based on exchange, and only use coercive force when absolutely necessary, you're going to go a long way towards limiting the backlash effect and a long way towards being much more successful.